Marichasana number 2 is Marichasana B. So it's the same forward folds and bind as Marichasana A, but the legs change a little bit. So since we start off on the right side with Ashtanga yoga, we always do the right side first. The right side in the Marichasanas, or the side in the Marichasanas, is determined by the knee that's bent and lifted. So Marichasana B combines a lotus and the same knee bent that we do in A, and then we combine it with the forward fold and the bind. So all of that to say is that we do the lotus on the left side, because the right side comes first and the right leg is the one that bends. So we need to come into the left side lotus first. So come into the left side lotus, which I break down lotus in the video where we talked about Ardha Baddha Padma Paschimottanasana. So refer back to that if you're still not sure how to safely move into a lotus position. And then to bring this right knee up like we do in Marichasana A, sort of need to lean to the side a little bit, lift up this right sit bone, bend the knee and plant the foot. So again, there needs to be this shifting forward that happens, lifting that right sit bone. So if you can shift forward, it's difficult here because you need a lot of opening in that left hip and in the right hip to get the shifting forward and be comfortably here where this knee is on the floor. And it's important that this knee is on the floor because that acts as your foundation in the posture. Right now you only have the right foot and the left knee and the left thigh kind of supporting you, and so you can find that balance on the two sides. And so again, if that shift, if you're like way back here and you need help pivoting the pelvis to come forward, sit on a blanket. And if the lotus isn't high up on the thigh here, where it's comfortable to bend this knee, then I'm going to show you variation in a little bit. And then from here, you can think about folding forward in the center between the foot and the knee. So you fold forward and you come here. So this can be your Marichasana B. Just like in A, you can just come work on the forward fold. And there's a lot happening here. You're lengthening the lower back, you're moving into the right hip flexion, you're deepening the external rotation in the left side, and you can be here. Or if you just want to bind it up, you do the same thing as in A to take the bind. Inhale, take a deep breath in, and then exhale, fold forward again in between the foot and the knee. Inhale, look up, exhale, and then to come out of it, you release the bind, straighten the leg, and come out of the lotus. So if that's difficult for you because maybe you're still working on opening the hip for lotus, so it's just hard for you to even get into that initial position, an option here can be, there's two typical options that we work with for alternatives. You can either just tuck the foot underneath like this and do everything the same, which is a variation I really like to use when I feel like my knees are kind of cranky. Sometimes my knees will just kind of be like, the joint won't be so happy. So this is a variation I use a lot. Or if it's because you're also working on opening the hip a little bit more, you can come into this like flamenco version that we've worked with before, where you flex the foot and you just bring the ankle above the knee. And I really like this version because it gives you a lot of space to work on depth. You can either be really open with the fingertips behind you, keeping the heart up and the spine straight, or you can walk that foot closer, walk the chest closer, and that really deepens the rotation in the left hip. And this is a great way to kind of help you work on deepening your lotus position. So this is kind of like a drill maybe that you can use as an alternative for Marichasana B. So it's important here to kind of determine like what aspects of Marichasana B do you want to work on, and that can depend on a lot of things. It can depend on injury, it can depend on where you're tighter in the body, or just just generally what your intention is in the practice. So it's good to know before you decide if you want to work with this variation or if you want to work on this variation. You're not working so much on the rotation in the hip, but you are working on getting into that hip flexion and maybe just also working on opening the shoulders a little bit more. So, knowing which aspect of Marichasana B you want to work on to determine which variation you choose. Another option is to do both, to do this one and then to go into this one. And then you get both aspects just separately. All right, That's all for Marichasana B.